What's up, dudes and not dudes? We're back. I want to do a shorter stream today, maybe keep it around like 25, 35 minutes. I just want to talk about individual marksmanship today. I don't have to talk about all the fancy stuff like what goes into what are the core constituents of effective marksmanship. So we'll give it a couple seconds to let people roll in here. As for me, why are you watching this video and what makes me somebody who knows what they're talking about? My name is Marshall Williams. I served with the Army's 10th Mountain Division from 2004 to 2010 as an infantryman. So I've got a collective 26 months of active ground combat time in Afghanistan, in places like the Korengal Valley and in Nuristan province, Kunar province, and places like Barj Matal. Cool, people are rolling in. Yo, man, appreciate you and your knowledge, and notifications are working. Cool, man, that's what's up. That's what I want to hear. All right, so we're going to get into, I want to start this segment with what are the fundamentals of marksmanship, okay? And I've got my toy gun, my training gun here, so I can show you guys when it's necessary. So getting into this, the first thing you do when you pick up a gun to shoot it is you pick it up, right? And you put it in your hand, and you solidify your grip on the gun. And you see how I have points where my grip opens up if I come back into the compressed position. That closes up when I push back out. We're gonna get into that sequence of indexing points later on in the video. But for right now, the very first component of marksmanship, in the instance of a handgun right here, is a good grip, okay? And I'm as high as I can get in the back of the tang, or in the back strap of the gun. And I'm as high as I can get up against the trigger guard with my support hand. And I'm basically squeezing with both hands towards each other, okay? Good grip. So good positioning and or stance. This applies to rifle. It applies to if you're in the prone, man. Actually, let's take shooting a rifle in from a knee, right? So we take a knee and we brace an elbow on our knee, right? Because it's more efficient, energy-wise, because it has skeletal support, okay? Skeletal support has the advantage over muscular tension as a supporting element because bones don't fatigue. Keep that in mind when you're setting up whatever your shooting position is. Like I'll support my forward support hand on my rifle and I'll support that with my skeleton. And that's more forward out towards the front of the rifle, so it supports that weight beyond that point of balance a little bit better, okay? Now, rule of economy. I guess, I don't know if I just mentioned that. The rule of economy states, what can I accomplish? What's the greatest I can accomplish for the smallest exchange in effort, right? So if you hold your breath while you're shooting, like then you're deliberately starving your muscles of oxygen, then your muscles start to atrophy, that whole deal, man. The rule of economy, shortest path between two objects is a straight line, okay? Fastest punch is a jab, right? Rule of economy, it's economical. Okay, now the second, and I kind of encourage you guys to write down these 4 points. There's 4 components to marksmanship, and I'm sure some of you have heard of them before, but either way, bear with me because this is just my take on things, okay? The second item as a fundamental is breathing, okay? You're breathing. As you hold your weapon or your rifle, you can watch your sight alignment or your reticle rise and fall as you inhale and exhale. Now, from a beginning standpoint, we should look towards taking advantage of the naturally occurring respiratory pause at the bottom of our breath. So when there's a pause right there, right? Okay, so that is when you want to time your shot. And if you're not able to make the other 3 fundamentals line up at that point in time, then just inhale again and exhale and try it again. This is training. You don't have to pressure yourself to be fast or anything like that. Just get it done deliberately. And what's done correctly, deliberately, slowly turns into done correctly, quickly. It's not slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Because it's not. Slow is slow, smooth is smooth, fast is fast. Don't try and turn it into something it's not. Okay, so second item, sight picture. How you see your sights with regard to the alignment of your eye and the target. Now, I'm going to explain mathematically a difference that kind of correlates to speed as it pertains to iron sights or a red dot, okay? You have how many points of alignment with iron sights? You have 1 point of alignment being your eye, you have a rear sight aperture, you have a front sight post, and then you have a target. That's 4 points of alignment. Now, a red dot has your eye, a dot, target. Now you see, like, kind of inherently why parallax-free optics are faster than lining up like a magnified optic or iron sights and floating the tip of that front sight post right in the center of your aperture. And while I'm thinking about it, I want people to know that a lot of pistols have a dot on the front sight post. That is not a point of aim. The tip of the sight post is your point of aim. A lot of people have that a little bit twisted. The dot that is on your front sight post of your handgun is for indexing. It's for reference. It's so you can see it quickly, and then you can see that flush horizontal edge of the front sight post and use that to split your target in half. Sorry, I messed it up. That was the third item. The fourth item is your trigger. The common denominator with all of these fundamentals in marksmanship is they all have the ability to deviate the alignment of your gun, okay? So when you pull the trigger, you could jerk the gun a certain direction, okay? Now, I don't know if you were aware of this, but some people have a tendency to fire the gun with their entire hand, meaning they squeeze all the muscles in their hand. Well, that leads to deviation of the alignment of your gun. So, muscular isolation, okay? Isolate the muscles in your trigger finger, and you're really gonna see the difference here when you do this left-handed, because you do need to be an ambidextrous shooter. And we'll get into that here in a minute. Okay, so actually on that note, ambidextrous shooting, you're gonna find through trial and error that you actually have to develop the dexterity in your non-dominant hand towards the gun, being like magazine release or the bolt catch or the slide lock. Things like that. You may have to actually work at developing the dexterity of your offhand. And that's something that gets developed with your strong hand too. Okay, so few key points with this. Like when you shoot, you should be looking for the impact on the target through the shot, meaning you pull and hold the trigger and watch the sights return to your target, okay? Now, after your sights return to target, get in the habit of letting off the trigger deliberately, only far enough to hear the positive reset of the trigger re-engaging or resetting, okay? And it just helps build deliberation. And also administrative stuff, like when I handle my gun around the house, like I I handle it the same way I would like in an environment. I keep my gun oriented at horizon level while I load it administratively. And you know, you'll hear a bunch of combat vets. They'll scream that you have to keep your eyes on the. Just caught the stream. Word, man. You'll hear like combat vets be like, "Oh, they'll scream at you. You have to keep your eyes on the target while you reload." Okay, well, cool story, but how are you supposed to address a visible target? You can watch them all day with a gun that isn't up. So split that distance, man. Like I can still see what's going on with my weapon in the daytime. At nighttime, you forfeit all of that stuff, and you better get in tune with all of it. But I just keep my weapon oriented at horizon level because it's habit forming. Like if I do this administratively 100 times, then it's that much more probable that I'm going to do it that way in real life. And I'm not going to revert back to, you know, loading a gun down here where we're looking down and not able to track what's going on in front of us. Dang, I think we're only 11 minutes in, and I already blew through the 4 fundamentals. So real quick, recapping on those 4 fundamentals. Number 1, grip, stance, and or position. Number 2, your sight picture. Number 3, breathing. And number 4, trigger squeeze. And those are in that order that they happen. So write those down and dive into this stuff with this in mind. This is for individual marksmanship. It's for the fundamental, the foundation of marksmanship that you have to apply to things like patrolling, reconnaissance, and patrol-based activities and stuff like that, and bounding and team movements and small unit tact. Okay, this is the stuff that you have to blow through in order to get to that point. Okay, in order to even be at the starting line, you have to go through everything that I'm talking about here on this segment. Okay. So again, grip, stance, and or position, sight picture, breathing, and trigger squeeze. They are all things that contribute greatly to the deviation of the alignment of your gun. Okay. So key points, follow through with each shot that you make. Look for that trigger reset and try to see the impact through the shot, both eyes open. Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate it, bro. I don't know what my hands are doing. I don't know what kind of hand gesture that was. Sometimes I'm stupid. Okay, so sensory input processing. I'm going to relay a story. When I was a private in the Army, we had this Iraq invasion vet, man, and he was a Spec 4, and he was the only guy on Fort Drum that was a member of the 500 Bench Club. Like, this guy was an animal, man, and I just remember him screaming at us, like, everywhere your eyes go, the rifle goes. Okay, man, let's fast forward this. It's 2022. Let's refer back to that rule of economy. That's not the most efficient way to swing a gun around the room, is it? You locate a target with your eyes and then bring the gun to it, okay? The rule of economy. So practice your sensory input processing, man. It's really easy to get stuck in your sights, to get stuck in the tunnel of your scope. It's really easy to not pay attention to what's going on around you. And in an actual arena, you need to pay attention to what's going on around you. Like the people around you, your team members, everything like that. You should have, in theory, only one eye devoted to downrange. Actually, you have one eye devoted to downrange and 2 devoted. You got a 3rd eye somewhere. So like that's how in tune with what's going on around you. Like, where's my next hard point of cover? Where's my next path of travel to go? Like, that's most concealed. This is stuff you always have to be thinking about. So these 4 fundamentals, they have to tie together extremely quickly and thoughtlessly. So like when I'm at compress or the stool position and I exhale sharply, right? Because breathing and that naturally occurring respiratory pause that we talked about needs to happen. I'm facilitating that respiratory pause. And I also personally find that more often than not, when I exhale sharply as I point to my target or present to my target, more often than not, I land on target more effectively. Just my personal belief. Okay, so sensory input processing. Like sometimes like what I'll do is I'll set up like a steel target at like a mid-range and then a steel target at close range. I'll sit there with my rifle and I see the target, ba ba, ba ba, like, and I go back and forth, drift between each target. I see the target, move to it. 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 And I continue amping up the volume of fire as I'm transitioning between each target, and not getting caught in the tunnel of that scope. Okay, volume of fire. Need to take an anatomy class, okay? Everything right here is the only spot on the human body guaranteed total and immediate and total incapacitation. It's the off switch. I'm not trying to be gruesome. We're talking about, again, the rule of economy. And like I personally, as a teacher, I get a little bit frustrated when I see like a student and I look at their target and man, it's everything's all in one hole. Why do I get upset at this or frustrated at this? Because it tells me that you're not riding that edge between speed and precision. Now, let's think about this from an anatomical standpoint as well. That now, do holes concentrated in one place have a greater effect with regard to, being able to prevent the EMT from saving this guy's life, as opposed to one here, one here, one here, one here, one here, spread out across a great area, right? The shotgun blast one looking one. So that gives you the leeway to 6 rounds. You can do a 6-round volume of fire engagement. You should. The sextuple tap. Believe that. Take it to the bank. So be aware of anatomy, okay? You have to be ambidextrous. That means you also have to be able to retrieve your handgun offhanded from its holster safely and engage too. Again, I'll repeat this until I'm blue in the face. Like, it's as easy as, pulling somebody out of a burning car. It's as easy as, man, like, my gun is center mass to me, right? So it would surmise that guns and hands get shot a lot. Okay. I'm just saying, dude, and like all you guys that are wearing like nylon shooting gloves and stuff like that with spandex in them, you might want to rethink that, because that stuff will melt to your hands. Yeah, man, I hate to be the bearer of bad news with that kind of stuff, but either way, you have to be ambidextrous. And this goes for like down to your 2 different types of reloads and your 2 different types of malfunctions. And you further have to be able to do this in pitch black. Now, I remember like when I was a lot younger, I would be there in the prone with my M4 and my M203. And I have bandana over my eyes, or a bandage over my eyes, so that way we couldn't see what we're doing. And we're reloading with the old Alice LC2 divided 3 mag pouch. And I don't know if you've ever done a reload from one of those and also stowed your magazine back in there. It's not easy. So, but again, nighttime. It's night half the time. It's more probable that people are going to do things at night. Get out of your fantasy land. Get away from the bench and start challenging yourself with environments and conditions and performance standards. Next little portion, I want to talk about conditioning, okay? So my draw stroke, I divide this into, like, I'm up, I get my support hand out of the way, because I see a lot of people, they will grab their gun and flag themselves on the way up to presentation. So I grab right under the sternum, a whole bunch of shirt, pull it away from the gun wherever it's at, and then bring the gun to your hand. All right, indexing point. I hook my support index finger on the trigger guard as my first indexing point. And from there, I plant my fingertips. You see, this is a sequence of events, right? I'm still open on the back side. I've got plenty of grip space available. And then I push towards the target. Now you see how all that gets taken up? It's a 90-degree angle from my holster to my sternum out to you. And that is a compounded movement. So there is a series like holster retention defeat that goes, there's a series of movements that go into this, like holster retention defeat, master grip placement, clearing the holster, orienting towards the target, bringing the gun to your support hand. Okay, so a way to make this easier and cleaner is to divide all of these compounded movements. Excuse me. Divide all of these compounded movements into micro movements, micro and macro movements. So me being right here at compressed, side alignment. Back here at compressed, side alignment. Compress, side alignment. Okay, so that's isolating a movement. That's isolating the movement that happens after here. Okay? Magazine retrieval. Getting the magazine out of the gun. You can have a conditioned movement for that. And so you're simultaneously reaching for your indexed fresh mag. Now me, I don't like change up the magazine release side. I don't really need to. I just press the magazine release left-handed with my middle finger. If I'm running my gun left-handed, you learn to run your gun. You don't have to have ambidextrous to everything. And like if it's a rifle where it only has a single-sided safety, well, guess what? My thumb is on the left side of the gun, and I just roll that down, and then I roll it back up with my knuckle. Learn to run your gun. You don't have to have all fancy gizmos and doodads and stuff like that. Again, man, this equipment doesn't make you. It's night after night after night after night after night, quantifying your performance and doing better than you were the day before. That's what it is. Okay. Mechanical offset. I don't have a dummy rifle to show you, but you need to condition within your work. You need to condition that distance between your optic axis and your bore axis, which could be about 2.5 inches. So that you see that makes a difference, man. Like at 5 meters, you need to account mechanically for that holdover and aim high. And that needs to be an automatic condition movement too. Zeroing weapons, man. I'm not going to sit here and debate what is the most effective zero. You can figure that out, man. And it really depends on the gun, man. Like here's how I do it. Here's how I've been doing it. I put my target at 100 meters. I zero everything on my rifle to 100 meters. So rather than calculate what my height is or whatever, just do a true to life zero representation of a target at 100 meters, and then everything's divisible by 10, yada, yada, yada. Now, do I do it with red dot or, magnified optic or irons? I have all three. I have all three on my rifle. And I keep my red dot center mounted on top of the optic in case I need to shoot with a pro mask. Think. You may need to shoot with a gas mask on. So high mounted optics are never a bad idea to accommodate that. Your zero, okay? So the concept of a zero, real quick, you have one axis formed by the alignment of your optic, right? And then you have another axis formed by your bore, right? So you are zeroing them. That means you're aligning an initial intersection to happen at close range, and then that projectile comes up and then it comes back down, okay? You're projecting that re-intersection at further range. So that way you can effectively have a center mass point click hit out until that range without performing any holdover or calculation. That is the purpose of a zero. Your concealment and draw stroke, focus very heavily. Concealment draw stroke and outside the waistband draw stroke, sorry. Focus on that very heavily because of the liability associated with your draw stroke. Like Okay, the human startle reflex is about 15 pounds of pressure. In a situation where you're hot on the trigger, looking for the trigger, like, bro, you got to be careful, man. Like, keep your fingers out of the way of your... What's going on, homie? Hey, dude, what's happening, man? Keep your fingers out of the way of your damn gun, man. You don't need to come out of the holster and then bring your fingers in front of the gun to get that support grip. Now, what the other liability associated with a draw stroke that isn't surgically honed is you drop your gun, you fumble your gun, you get it caught between the t-shirt and your hand, and you fumble the gun, and now you're fighting for a gun bent over at the waist with a guy trying to kill you. Great job. Okay. Draw stroke is muy, muy importante. I can tell you, like, so if I'm wearing my gun on my hip and I go left-handed, I will defeat retention. Come straight up and roll the gun across my belly, and now I'm able to shoot. And it goes back the same way. You can practice this for free. None of this stuff costs ammo. So write your indexing points, write your sequences, write your micro and your macro movements, and focus on those religiously. Some benchmarks to performance would be: you're effective at static shooting ambidextrously and at night. You're effective at unorthodox shooting ambidextrously and at night. You're effective at shooting while moving ambidextrously at night. Okay, so all I'm going to say with shooting on the move, here's a free pointer. Here's a free lesson. Short, small steps. Short, small steps. Try it out. Your draw stroke mastered is a benchmark. Your both types of reloads, remedial and immediate reload, practical and speed reload. I'm not going to say the T word. You know me. And then immediate and remedial malfunction correction. So an immediate action malfunction would be like, I come up, click. Okay, so I slap and I rack and I'm back in the game. That is feasibly a bad primer or whatever, a bad round. Either way, I need to get the thing out of the gun and I need to get back into play. Now, remedial action is if I see a stovepipe. Okay, now I know, like, a little secret, you just dump it over on its side and get it out of there and re-rack it, man. Like, but either way, you may, on a rifle, you are gonna probably have to strip your magazine out because the magazine is applying tension to a second round that tried to go into battery that caused malfunction in the first place. Okay. All right, guys. So that pretty much wraps up everything that I've got today. Do you guys have any questions of me? And again, if you guys appreciate this content and want to keep it going, I appreciate greatly any sort of donations for my time and effort. My Venmo is at David-Williams-1663. Yes. And my Cash App is Bayonet Fresh to Death with no A in death. But anyway, at any rate, I greatly appreciate all the help that you guys provide for me. In the meantime, if nobody has any questions, Vinny just pushed my camera. If anybody has any questions, throw them at me. I'll give you a few minutes for that. But other than that, I don't have anything else for you today. Anything I'm forgetting? I don't think there is. If it were that important, it would be glaring in my mind. But at any rate, nothing. All right. Well, you guys, I try to jump on Thursdays because I know everybody's amped up for Friday and everything like that, and I don't want to detract from it. So you guys have a safe weekend. Oh, also Telegram. If you want to go get onto the Telegram channel, it's if you just /Strife17 and spell out 17, that'll get you to the Telegram channel. So I got super banned from Instagram. But either at any rate, you guys have a great night and have a safe weekend, okay?